Peace, YouTube. This is Fleur Boone coming to you today with a new topic of discussion. So I wanted to check in because I wanted to address like the number one question I get from a multitude of different people and from different areas and different countries. So I wanted to discuss this and talk about it. So I'll wait until a couple people check in, and then we'll get in the conversation. So check in. Peace, 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 foreign, peace, goody, peace, jail, Jayla. Peace, Ladyfingers, Michelle, Sari, Alex, Code, New Nails, Spiritual, Asia, Lil, O, Musanki, Jasmine. Hey, Jennifer, beautiful Jennifer. Jennifer, I think you should be like a supermodel. I think you're so pretty. Every time I see pictures of you, I was like, why aren't you modeling? You look so much like you're prettier than even what's her name, the model that you favor? What's her name? Tyra Banks. You're prettier than her. Every time I see her, I'm like, oh wow. Oh, today is my 22nd day of my fast. Peace, yes, I appreciate it. Yeah, 22nd day of my fast, and I'm ready to get to the end. You know, when you're just, are you a reptilian? The question, this is a question that I get asked a lot. Thank you, I appreciate it. For big up to all the fasters in the house who've been fasting with me. So 22nd day, 8 more days, and I am totally ready for getting to completion. I'm totally ready. Hey, Germany's in the house. Yeah, so the fast has been phenomenal. I've had, like, yesterday it was kind of like I was at the farm yesterday with my little ones, picking up some goods, and I was like, okay, it's, when you're at the end of your fast, like, you're like, okay, I'm ready to, like, complete my fast. So I only have 8 more days. I'll do it swiftly, and next Tuesday will be my last day of my fast. So I'm looking forward to it. Anyway, so we're gonna get into the reptilian conversation. Hey, Maya. Yeah. Okay. So let's discuss this. Again, this is the number one question I get from a multitude of people asking if they are reptilian, and I want to give you some of the the clearest signs that you have a lot of reptilian. I've always discussed this before, that we all on this planet at this point have been so homogenized. Even if you weren't, your ancestors weren't, you merged with another bloodline that had reptilian in its lineage, whether it was to the smallest or to the greatest degree. Okay, so we'll get into the conversation. Are you reptilian? And I put a picture. Big up to Villy, I think the name is, sent me this wonderful clip of a police officer caught during a game, during a baseball game, in back of someone with his eyes already shape shifting. So I thought I'd put that as a clip in the video to kind of, give you a prelude of what that looks like when someone's shifting. Now, whether the police officer knows that they're a reptilian or not, I can't really say. But I can say that a lot of the civil servants are reptilians based on the job, and a lot of the requirements to be in that kind of soldier mode all the time and to be very detached and removed. That is one of the main dispositions of a reptilian. So let's get into it. So, as we discussed before, we really have been misled into thinking that reptilians were something so much outside of ourselves, is thinking that those were them and this was us. That basically reptilians were a whole nother species that were coexisting here. I'm not saying that they aren't, but that we had nothing to do with them and we were a whole nother species. I'm here to clarify that that is untrue. Like I've discussed before, if you look at the basic makeup of the human nowadays, you would see quite a bit of reptilian types of dispositions and qualities And I love that. Big up to Offset, whose show I was on the other night. And one of the things that you will denote is that pheromones from the reptiles give off the same pheromones as humans. So we give off the same pheromones as most reptiles that you come in contact with. I'm in Florida, so we have like a mini. I live in like a mini dinosaur park. Like there's lizards everywhere. They crawl everywhere. I'm just so used to it. It's like your common bird here. So I'm usually very accustomed to seeing lizards everywhere. It's like Jurassic Park, a miniature version of it, every daily. So we give off the same pheromones as lizards do, as reptiles do, and that denotes how is that possible? Because if we were just mammals, right? Bipedal mammals that walk around that are humanoid, then we would in itself not have the same pheromonic signature as basic reptiles. Okay, but the fact of the matter is, majority of us are mixed with a smaller degree of reptilian, and some of you have heightened amount of reptilian, and some of you have mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, mates, children that are heightened in reptilian disposition. So let's get into those qualities. Now, I've made a video before talking about the types of your basic characteristics of reptilians, but I'm going to answer the question, are you a reptilian? Because a lot of people are asking, they don't know what they are, but they feel like they have a lot of reptilian in them. Okay, reptilians have a tendency, like I said with the police officer that I put in the clip that was shape-shifting, they generally tend to pick positions where they have a lot of control, and they're allowed to be in their warrior mode, in their more aggressive state, without being judged or it being a problem. Okay, so you'll see a lot of times people with a heightened amount of reptilian in them will choose positions where they're dominating over another, or they're in something where they're engaging in physical confrontations or overseeing physical confrontations. A lot of times you'll see wrestlers, boxers, what's another aggressive sport? A lot of these kickboxing, a lot of these sports arenas kind of cater to the disposition of a general reptilian. Okay. Oh, Nature Boy is a atypical. He has pan eyes though, so I don't know. The difference with Nature Boy is he has pan eyes, which is a little different. Meaning that he's been homogenized in a laboratory, and I've already discussed this. Nature Not, I personally think, is a governmental agent. I think he was created in a laboratory, or I'm sorry, I chew on like this bark and just to make my breath fresh while I'm fasting, because fasting doesn't a lot for, especially water fast. Sometimes your mouth is really gamey. Anyway, so Nature Boy is some sort of hybrid reptilian that I personally think was homogenized in a laboratory and set out to propel some sort of agenda to catch the newly awakened and ones who don't have a personal ability to utilize their their higher discernment. But for the most part, you'll see a lot of reptilian types of characters in a lot of aggressive sports. Now, we've talked about the basic, the innate quality of a reptilian is way different than what we consider to be the beautiful humanoid that used to coexist here before their genomes were homogenized and before they were split into mixed with other types of hybrids that were colonizing the planet, including the reptilian. Now, what you'll notice is a very cold disposition, a very detached disposition within yourself. We're talking about if you are a reptilian. So I'm talking to you, for those who call and ask me questions all the time if they're reptilians. If you yourself have a sort of a natural detachment, and you even have to force yourself, you usually have to force yourself to engage in feelings. It's almost painful for you to actually have an emotion that has to do with connectivity, that has to do with empathy, being empathetic towards life, whether it's animals or other people. You have a hard time connecting to people, and you almost have to fake it to make it. You'll see that quality within yourself, and even if you, to the public eye or to people, because you know that that isn't a quality that's acceptable, you will in itself, you will pretend to be extremely, sympathetic, empathetic towards people, because you know that's what is expected to you if you were a human. Okay, so connectivity, if you're not very connective to people naturally, and mind you, there are other things going along with people being abused or tragically dealing with neglect, or a mother doing drugs during a pregnancy, those could also kind of propel someone to have some of the characteristics of a reptilian, but they may not be. Okay, those are things that also can bring about that kind of detachment, even if they are not reptilian. Okay, so we're going to talk about if you're a reptilian, but also we're going to take into consideration that some people may not be reptilian themselves in genomes as much as they have what we consider, I always talk about the gray overlays, but we never talk about the fourth dimensional reptilian overlays that stay on top of people's auras, that we call piggybackers. Okay, these are reptilian piggybackers that overlay on top of your auric field and influence your actions and your behavioral patterns. Okay, we're not going to get into that now. We're going to talk about the biological, the actual physical reptilians, and then we'll get into the overlays of those reptilians that are actually influencing people based on people's poor behaviors that allow for that kind of inception. Okay, so we have people who are very detached. Okay, another reptilian quality is being highly aggressive when it comes to territories. Very territorial. Reptilians are very territorial, meaning that they are really hell bent on keeping the perimeters around their home base or where they work very, very stringently tight. They disallow for people to really incept in their spaces. They like personal spaces. So you may have a husband who likes to keep himself in a man cave all day. He doesn't really like to interact with you unless he's having sex with you. That's a reptilian quality. So he only likes to hang out and do things on his own or with other males, if he's the top tier of males, because we'll get into the competition level of certain types of reptilians. But he only likes to stay in his space, and he keeps it he keeps his sanctuary very, very astute, and he keeps it very, very aesthetically clear from other people incepting on it. They are highly territorial. They disallow for others to come into their worlds unless invited. And even when they have an invitation to come into a reptilian's world, there are certain rules and regulations that will be understood when you come into a reptilian's cave. There, especially man caves or women like that. Now, for a woman, I'm talking about men, but for women who are reptilian, they generally tend to stay inside or seclusive. They seem more seclusive and antisocial. Okay, that's a female quality of being a reptilian, being highly antisocial and highly reclusive, meaning that they only stay around their own home base, they stay within their own proximity, and they generally tend not to. Women are more so ones that won't interact with other women when they're highly reptilian. It's just not their basic repertoire. It's not what they do. Okay. Oh, hugs. Thank you. I love hugs. Thank you, Shannon. That's one of the qualities. They're territorial. They tend to be non-emotional. So also what you'll see, we'll bring in the emotional state, is whenever there's a tragedy or something that seems like it should be something that's sad, or usually when it has to do with something sad or tragic, they have a difficult time even giving any sort of credence or they lack of compassion. They will see a situation and you'll hear them being very nonchalant about it, and usually they forget about it because in their innate biology, it isn't what's part of their natural repertoire of who they are. So if someone dies or someone's murdered, they will maybe observe it, but they will have a very clear consensus of being connected or actually non-emotional about the activity or whatever happened or the tragedy. So they will, even if it's their own family members, generally reptilians, even with their own mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, what have you, even their wives or spouses, if something tragic happens to their spouses, they have a lack of empathy. They won't lend really loving support. They may be there because they have to remember they're still, maybe some of these reptilians are not under the especially the lesser, the more hybrid ones that have been homogenized over time. They're unaware that they're another species, so they just feel like they have these feelings, but they really cloak it. They cloak it in that they disallow others to notice that, though, that they don't really feel. So what you'll see when you're trying to hide it, because we're talking to those who are asking themselves if they're reptilian, generally what you'll see is you will try to OD, we call it OD, overdo emotions to try to cloak the fact that you really don't feel anything about someone dying or someone being sick or someone being diagnosed with cancer, or something going on with something else, someone else. You generally don't have those feelings, so you will OD. You will overdo it in your emotional, oh my God, you'll OD it, but there will be no feelings behind it. It will be totally a lie, a kind of like a cloak of an emotion that you don't have intrinsically. So this. I'm talking to those reptilians. You know this about yourself. You know that when your brother broke his leg, you smiled because you wanted him to break his leg. You know when you were a little child that when somebody was hurt or crying in class, you looked at them and observed them as weak. You know, as a reptilian, that whenever your mother and father had a difficulty or fighting, that you got some pleasure, or you actually fed off of the negativity or vile behavior in the household, and you actually sometimes secretly invoke or were the catalyst to some of the arguments, because reptilians like to be catalysts. Because depending on the type of reptilian we're talking about that you are, you will tend to kick up more angst in the household or angst in your world to feed off of the negative vibrations that most of you generally feed off of, like vampiric. You're very vampiric in the way that you feed off of negativity. Okay, you like when people fight. Sometimes you like to watch fight videos. You'll sit and watch hours on YouTube of women fighting, men fighting. You like that. You like to watch aggressive type of sports. That's highly part of a reptilian disposition, is if you are not engaged in it yourself, based on you cloaking who you truly are, or maybe you don't know who you are, but cloaking who your general behavioral patterns. You actually make sure that you get some of that fight, flight, and fornication via pornography, through fighting videos, through you think, oh, goddess Kiara, why are you here? Let's put you in timeout. If you think I'm mentally ill, why are you here? Oh, it's so funny. Okay, those are things that they will generally do, is that they will engage in those activities even if it's personally not themselves. Okay, another thing to take in, well, this channel, listen, for anyone coming in here, if you've known Fleur Bruin for a second or for years, you know that I am in contact with ETs. I acknowledge that there's celestial, interterrestrials, and inner earth beings. I acknowledge that they're here. I have witnessed them myself. That has nothing to do with mental illness. That has to do with heightened self-awareness and awareness of a world that most people will ignore, even if it's in front of their face. And if this was a lie, if reptilians didn't exist, why would your President Obama go on The View and state that most everybody has a reptilian side of the brain, which I didn't learn in biology when I was in 8th grade? So we need to be more rational. If I'm not your cup of tea, this is not the channel for you. There's plenty of other channels talking about very mundane things, very materialistic things that have to do with the general matrix, and that's a place when you can go and enjoy living in blissful oblivion. Oblivious to everything outside of you, whatever's material. That's fine. So keep it moving. Okay, where was I? Okay, so They're not emotional. They tend to provoke arguments, incite wars. They're high amount. They're gaslighters. Okay, they're gaslighters. For the number one thing, they're definitely gaslighters. They will sit there, and a lot of times, what they do is they create coups. That's a very reptilian quality. When you're sitting in the sidelines, and reptilians like to watch, because you like to watch people fight or be in war mode, especially if you're not engaging it and you're disallowed from doing it for whatever reasons. You will provoke arguments and you will incite them, and then sit back and watch and feed off that frenzy, feed off that anxiety, feed off that fighting disposition. Okay, so that's a quality. If you have a lot of that, that is definitely a sign that you're a reptilian. These are, now mind you, one of these is not a denotion. There are plenty of narcissists and sociopaths living on this planet, based on the fact that we live in a world where narcissism and sociopathic behavior is rewarded. So I want to give a host of different signs of being reptilian, and then we'll get into the physicalities, the actually physical residue that actually shows up from being a reptile. But I don't want to say that one of these qualities would denote that someone's a reptilian. It has to be a combination platter, where they have a host of those combinations, or you have a host of those combinations, but there's another physical proof. There's physical proof going along with those general behavioral dispositions. Okay, so we don't want to just say someone's a reptilian, because they could just be an outlandish narcissist. They could be a sociopath. They could be a Satanist who's been geared and raised and programmed to be non-emotional, non-connective. Okay, absolutely. Okay, so we have that. Now let's go into the sexual disposition of a reptilian. Now, I don't know if many of you, like if you're in Florida, if you've seen reptiles before, you know that the only reason that they come together with the other is to mate, and that's it. They don't necessarily have a connective quality. They're not loving, they're not doting, they aren't really, huggy duggy. Huggy buggy, that's not their disposition. Okay, so generally when it comes to sex, they do have the need to replicate themselves, or to create, they do have the basic yearning to replicate themselves or to have sex. They have that in them heightened. So what you'll see if you're a reptilian is that you only want to mate as needed, only when you're feeling I don't want to use the word excited. I'm being appropriate because I know there's little people on here. A lot of big up to all the mommies at home who listen to my videos, the stay-at-home moms. You generally only want to mate when needed. So you'll generally want to have sex with someone. And I'm talking to those who are asking themselves if they're reptilian. So let's say I'm talking to a man. Men reptilians act differently sexually than women reptilians. Okay, so let's say you're a man. You generally only want to have sex with your partners just to get off. That's it. If you lie in bed with them, it's because you're being forced and you don't want to show that you're that disconnected. You basically want to hit it and run. That's basically your general disposition. You basically want to have sex and leave. So as soon as you have an orgasm, your first feeling, whether you show it or not, and I'm talking to those, remember, everyone knows their thoughts. We don't always detail, even myself, I don't detail everything about myself. You know who you are more than I would know who you are. Okay, so the men generally like to have sex and have sex in a very detached way, and once they relieve themselves, they don't really have the natural propensity to want to stay around the same partnerships. Generally, reptilians, if they're in their natural state and the more heightened they generally just want to breed and move on. Those are the ones who generally will knock up a woman and just leave her without any feeling, because they're not caretakers. Reptilians are not caretakers. They impregnate and then they move on. That's a very reptilian quality. Okay, so that is canal. See, I'm grateful to be honest. If you're a reptilian, this is the thing. We're going into 5D plus. We're going to be interacting with beings outwardly. There won't be any more There won't be any more hiding. And, you know, I like to say this is that because I want people to be non-judgmental of the other beings we're coexisting with. I think the only problem that most people have is the cloaking, hiding themselves. That's what I personally think. I think the hiding is what bothers people the most. I think if you knew who you were dealing with, you know their general dispositions. You know, if you watch movies like Star Trek or Star Wars, and you see the beings working on one ship, and you have one that looks like an elephant man and one that looks like a squid and one that looks humanoid, you notice that they all work together as a team, and there isn't any judgment because they know where they come from and they know their general disposition, they know the planets they come from, and they work cohesively together. This is the point where we're going to get at, and that's the point of me making these videos, talking about reptilians not so dastardly all the time, telling you the general disposition so that you get an idea of what you're working with. So it isn't anymore there isn't any more cloaking, there isn't any more hiding. And also it gives the opportunity for reptilians to come out if we want disclosure, which most of us are getting. Hey Sensei. If we want disclosure, and we want them to be, if we want a reality based in truth as opposed to lies and smoke screens, these are the things we're going to have to discuss. And not everybody's going to be open and receptive to it, because they'll demonize it and say, oh, you're demons, oh, you're sick, you're mentally ill. Why would a woman who's fasting for 22 days, I don't smoke weed, I don't drink liquor, I'm not even having sex, I'm a stay-at-home mom, I've done wonderful with my children, why would I come out and say outlandish things that aren't true? My general disposition would say that I'm more sane than the majority of people. Okay? I'm just giving you a background. It's not saying I'm perfect, but I'm sane. Who you are is just who you are. But why should you have to hide yourself? I can accept you as a reptilian. I can accept you. If I know that you're a reptilian and I know what you come from and I know your general disposition, why would I judge you? Because I know who you are. Now, I may not want to be best friends with certain types of reptilians because obviously, that would be the case where, if they are generally very cold or they like to gaslight, that wouldn't be something that I generally would like to do. I wouldn't like to be around someone who likes to gaslight or like to incite wars, okay? That may not be, but I can respect them from a distance, and I can respect the things that they do well in life without being underneath them and being friends and being all cozy with them. Maybe other reptilians like to hang out with other reptilians. They're very recluse, so I don't even know that reptilians like to hang with other reptilians, okay? So that is one of the signs. So they're very sexually detached. I'm talking about the males. The males generally try to hit and run. That is a very reptilian quality. And, what's interesting is because years ago, people didn't realize there was a lot of brown people who were reptilians, who are mixed with who are hybrid with a heightened amount of reptilian blood. Back in the days, the general consensus was that only lunars were mixed with reptilian. That isn't true. They're mixed with a certain type of reptilian more likely. More likely a lunar would be mixed with more draconian, because draconians have a preference of only hybriding with certain European background, people of certain European background. They do. That's a fact. They only like, and on the tall whites as well. So they only like to mate with a particular genome. But in certain reptilian groups, the interterrestrials, especially the subterranean reptilian, only mate with Nubians. They only want to hybrid with other brown people at all. They don't do it otherwise. That's what I'm saying. There's so many different types of species of reptilians that are interacting with humanity that you would be shocked to know how many people are being bred with different spectrums of the different sex here. Okay, so I bring that up to say, be mindful that there are different types of reptilians. I'm giving a general consensus of the general behavioral patterns of most reptilians, but each of the sects have their own propensities. Very, very, very finite as well. Very finite in the things that they do. Okay, so let's keep going. Goddess Kiara said I'm too pretty for this. What does pretty have to do with me talking about reptilians? Whether I look like a duck or I talk like a duck, I'm still me. I'll let you listen. Goddess Kiara, you can stay in the room. You may not agree with me, and I'm okay with that. Nobody has to agree with me totally. Just be mindful to be respectful, okay? There's no reason to disregard it. If this conversation isn't what you like, or you feel out of sync with, or you feel that I'm cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, you have the personal right to leave the room. That's it. You have your I don't want to block you, and I don't want to have to mute you, because I think your opinion matters. I'm okay with people having opinions based on this. I'm fine with that. But you just have to be respectful. That's all. You can stay and listen, and that's fine. You don't want me to block you, because then that disallows for you from learning and growing and being a party to others who are in sync with this, okay? Because if you think I'm cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, then everybody in this room is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. And that's a lot of people. That's 345 people in this conversation. That's a lot of crazy people. Are you saying most black men are reptiles? Or I didn't say that. Did you say that? There wasn't anything that I said. I didn't say most brown men are reptiles. I'm talking about who can be considered reptilian. I know that the majority of people on this planet are mixed with a heightened amount of reptilian. Now, some have a smaller quality, and some have more heightened, and that's why we're getting in this discussion. Okay? Now, maybe you thought because I spoke to men hitting and leaving, that was linked to most brown men. Now, we got to take that, you got to pull and be a little more sound in your rationality. There is also a war against the brown families that's been going on for the last couple hundred years now. That's a reptilian agenda, though. Okay, listen to me. That is a reptilian agenda. So if certain brown men are showing up with some of these dispositions that are very reptilian, it could be that they are being propelled to do so by being conditioned in an agenda-based matrix that is propelling that type of, pushing that kind of mentality, and it's overlaying on top of a brown community. That could be what it is. Okay, so it doesn't mean that all brown men are all reptilians, but there is a reptilian agenda. Okay, the reptilian agenda is to make more people more reptilian-like. So even if you don't have a heightened amount of reptilian, there is a reptilian agenda that will promote, that will uplift things that have to have or qualities that are more like them. That's all. Okay, so so we have sexual propensities, so they like to hit and miss. Now let's talk about the females. Now, female reptilians are a little different, and this is where we get in a really good conversation, because a lot of females are reptilian, but how it shows up especially is in their sexual disposition. Female reptilians, if you are that, you yourself will be highly aggressive sexually. Highly aggressive. You lack passivity. It isn't your general, if you're heightened in reptilian. Now, mind you, I'm talking to the reptilians here. The females who have a heightened amount of reptilian in their genomes, okay, in their very genetic makeup, okay? They tend to be aggressive in sex. Okay, now you may not know this until you've had sex with one. Now, I've had the privilege, big up to all those intellists who talk to me. I've had the privilege, and I'm grateful to have many people, including myself, share their general sexual liaisons with reptilians. Whether they're the ones telling me that they're the reptilians, or they are telling me they're having sex with reptilians. But reptilian females are the most aggressive in the bedroom. Okay, they're highly aggressive. When I say aggressive, means they're domineering, and they can seem very animalistic in the bedroom, because they allow that primal aspect of themselves to be released. And it's very difficult, and a lot of times for men, if you're engaged with a reptilian in bed, you will see her eyes shapeshift, especially when she's going into like an orgasmic state. That is very common that you see that when you're in having sex with a reptilian, especially if she's heightened, the one way that you see it is in her anger. When she's getting really, really frenzied and excited, you will see her eyes shift. That's why a lot of times they close their eyes in the bedroom. That's one of the ways that you know that some of these reptilians, and that's also a quality you gotta be careful. Some women like to close their eyes. I'm not gonna say that for everyone, but the women that are reptilians are aware based on the fact that they may have had sex with a male before, and the male may have told them, yo, your eyes look crazy. They may have said it, so they become aware that something happens to their eyes, and they may outwardly try to conceal that aspect about themselves by closing their eyes during sex. But generally, you will see the female reptilians be highly aggressive in the bedroom. They almost seem like animals. They seem like animals in the bedroom. They're very aggressive. Sometimes they take the position of being on top because they want to direct the energy. They're very vampiric. If you're sleeping with a female reptilian, she will suck your energy, especially if she's very aggressive. She will pull from you. And how do you know also that she's a reptilian? After having sex with her, you will feel highly drained, not in a sexual way, not from orgasms, but you will feel drained. She will pull from you. She has that natural ability to vampiric off of your energy. So that is very, very important for you to realize, that you have to understand and understand that females show up a little differently than males, because males it's allotted for a male to be a little more aggressive in the bedroom, if not, or he has a little different temperament in the boudoir. Okay, but females highly aggressive. They will take it. Okay, and if you don't give them what they want, females tend to be more promiscuous. Reptilian females tend to be a little more promiscuous, or I should say a lot more. If you don't give them what they want, they will pull from other males, and they will do it under the guise of being married. They don't care. Those are the ones you see step out there. See, Goddess Carrie, you're coming in. Come on in. They go around, and those are the ones that are more promiscuous and apologetic. Like, you confront a reptilian female about her promiscuous ways, and she will act nonchalant about it. Like, what do you care? Like, yeah, I did. They will be very nonchalant about their sexual liaisons with other males, because they're doing it to feed. They don't realize that they're doing it, but they're not getting enough for one. And if he's not giving it to them in a way where she can feed properly off of his energy, she will go to other males to get her feedings. Okay, so that's the difference. Females tend to be more aggressive, and if you're a female like that, that is absolutely a testament that you have a lot of reptilian in your actual makeup. And also, I'm talking to the females because you know who you are more than I know who you are. You know, because one is not enough. Okay, so you like to have a multitude of men, and most people don't even know it. The average reptilian that is that way generally tends to hide that disposition, but there are those who don't care and just are more brandish about it, outward about it. Okay, so that's the sexual disposition of the female and male. Okay, males like to hit it and just leave, and they're not nurturing to their offspring. Also, reptilian mother. Okay, so we're getting into parenting of reptilians. Parents, reptilians, if you're parents and you are a reptilian and you have a heightened amount of reptilian in you, you're very detached from your children. You only do from them because you're forced to. Okay, I'm keeping it real. I know this gets a little uncomfortable because we start getting into the natural disposition of reptilians. Reptilian children from reptilian parents tend to be more independent based on the fact that they don't come from a bloodline of necessity to care for young like we do in a more mammal type of way, more human type of way. Okay, so generally you will see females who are parents tend to be very detached. They're not very loving. They're not very doting. They only give children basics. The only time you see them do more is if they feel like they have to hide that disposition based on judgment from others. They don't want to be judged from others, and they know that this quality. Now, you only know if you're like this. You may not tell other people you feel like this. From the time your child is born, you don't want to really have to do much with them. You basically, the crying is agitating to you. You basically feed them only as necessary, and you can't wait for them to get older so they can be more independent to give you back that capability of being and mating more. So any woman that you notice that has this disposition, some of your mothers were like this. Some of the fathers would like this. Generally, fathers don't stay around enough for you to see this. But mothers, mother reptilians, women that are reptilians that are mothers generally tend to be this way. Very detached from the children, do only the basic for the children. And this is narcissism. Okay, narcissism in itself. Remember, we have to remember, there has been a reptilian agenda from the Getty up. Remember, this agenda has been long going for, yeah, Eliana has that quality. But remember who she's with. She's with nature not. That's why they match. Pheromonically, they match. The reptile to reptile. Okay? Remember, and I have to state this because a lot of times people are like, that's just a narcissist. But where did narcissism come from? And why is narcissism something that we know about and has become more rampant as time has gone on? Because there has been a hybrid program that has been creating, allowing people to mate with each other, knowing that they're just going to perpetuate a type of species that they are. Okay? That's why you can't get your blood type anymore. Mostly people, listen, the first thing I ask everyone, and I could care less if you care, if you don't want to tell me your blood type, I ask you what your blood type is. It gives me a general consensus of who and what you are. There are different blood types that have different dispositions. O negative is off-world blood. I know that you're a Galactica type of reptilian, and that you'll tend to be a little more methodical in your mindset, a little more sinister in your disposition, more clinically based, more detached, a little colder and calculated. O negatives tend to be an off-world blood. So they don't have human dispositions in a way we all do. That's why they seem a little more far removed. It's not that they're negative. There's nothing wrong with them, but that is because they aren't from here. They don't have the general consensus of being human. Okay? Positive means you're positively from here. And most of the positives, if not all of them, are mixed with the subterranean reptilians, or the ones that colonized here previous to the ones that came galactic-wise, because there's been many colonizers on Earth. So if you hold the positive roost, you are positively from here, longer than the ones who came after you, okay, which are all the negatives. And not all negatives are galactics. Some negatives are clones, because remember, clones come up with negative roosts, and also biobots come up with negative roosts. Okay, so not all negatives are the same, but the majority of negatives that are actually galacticas, they have that general clinician type of disposition. They're the ones who can sit in a laboratory as scientists and study and research so beautifully and so non-biased, because they don't have that disposition. When we get to emotional, that's a positive roost. Positive roosts tend to be very hyper emotional, very connected to too much, so they get overwhelmed. A lot of them suffer from anxiety when they get too overwhelmed with being too emotional about too many things. Okay, so that's a part of that. So there isn't any shade to any of the bloodlines. The bloodlines have, that's why I want to know who you are. And it's not to judge you, it's for me to it's for me to have a better consensus of who you are, so I know how to approach you. Okay? Why do you think the Japanese, hey love, patience, why do you think the Japanese require for your blood type? They know who's good for working O positives, O negatives. They know who's good for working different jobs. Why did they master that if it didn't matter? Okay, that's why, let me know what your blood type is. It's not, I don't want a vampire. I'm not going to go drink your blood. I'm not going to go give it to a bank or anything like that. I'm not giving it to Diabolical. I want to know, I tell you I'm O positive. I'm an OG. Big up to all the OGs in the house. I'm an OG. All the O's, negative roots and positive, those are the OGs. I'm an heirloom. So I come from the umbrella. All the other subsidiaries, A, B's, come from the hubs of the O's. I want to know who you are. I want to know who you're down with. Also, a lot of the O negatives get messed with by certain ET groups. A lot of the abductions, if not most of the abductions, are done to negative roosts. Negative roosts are abducted more often. O positives have contact more often. Negatives tend to be abducted and worked on clinically, because they're of a rarity and they aren't from here. So they're low-jacked from their own. O positives are from here. So whenever they get contact with the galactic family or celestial family, let me say that the celestial family or inner earth family, it generally tends to be positive. A lot, and this is just me doing research over years, finding out who's being abducted. The majority of abductees are all negative roots. You rarely hear a positive being abducted, but you hear a lot of negatives being abducted because they want to research them. And they're connected to other realms of existence in the galactic sex. So they have to really work on them and, study their blood and see how they're doing in a world that's very different to where they come from. Okay? What else? Okay, so we have that. So mothering, parenting, like I said, with parenting, the male reptilian he doesn't want any part of his children. He likes to know about them, but he doesn't want to partake in them. He wants to just create children and move on. That's nature not. Nature not is like that. And a mother, like a velvet, tend to be very far removed. They basically will have the children and want nothing to do with them. And what's interesting is that, as much as I talk to people from time to time, especially reptilians that contact me and ask who and what they are, even though they know what they are, the number one thing is they say, my mother was very removed and I'm scared to have children. That's the number one concern. A lot of people don't want to have children because they know of their reptilian mothers who were highly detached and they know that they're going to have that same disposition. Remember, like mother, like daughter. So fortunately and unfortunately, they are correct in that they noticed something that was what they thought wasn't right in society, where society says you're supposed to be a certain way, but they're wrong because that's who you are. If you're a reptilian, your mother's a reptilian, you're a reptilian. And reptilian wombs create reptilians. Let's state this. You can have a father who's reptilian and you can have a mother who's reptilian. Wombs matter. If that mother is reptilian, she will give birth to a reptilian. That's why the Hebrews only say you're Jewish if you come from a Jewish womb, because we give the extra mitochondriac. Okay, we give the extra gene to the children. Because of that is why that's why it's more important that the dark ones get specific types of women to give birth to their offspring, especially if they want to keep a lineage of hybrid type of reptilians strong. The wombs make a difference. A father can add to it and give the child certain dispositions of reptilian, but the mother denotes the actual species that you come from. Okay? Okay, so we talked about that. Now, food, types of foods that reptilians who are heightened eat flesh. There's no and, ifs, or buts. Now, the only ones that have a different disposition, and I know this 50%, I would say 50%. The subterranean reptilian tends to be more fruitarian. You know how you go to the Caribbean and you see a lot of the reptiles eat a lot of fruit? Then we get into that. Then you'll see certain reptiles that eat bugs or flesh or eat other kind of reptiles. There's different kind of reptiles. So for most reptilians that are coming from the more aggressive breeds like draconians, otherworldly galactic types of reptilians, they eat flesh. When I say flesh, they're meat eaters. They cannot stop or they get sick. They have to consume flesh. Okay, that's a fact. They are the height. They require it and they eat it because, and also to a certain degree, they have to eat the draconians. A lot of other draconians, and there's another breed. What's the other breed? There's another breed of not reptilians, but another ET group that requires pork. And why they eat a lot of pork as well is because pork is mixed with humans. It's been hybrid with humans. That's why it looks very human. That's why it's very sensitive. That's why they're very smart. They're hybrid. The pink pig that most of you eat your bacon and your pork and your ham with, those are hybrid humans. Why a lot of reptilians consume it is so they can hold human form. Okay, in order to hold human form, they have to eat humans. Okay, so beings like reptilians that are draconians who may not know their disposition have to consume a lot of pork. Now, the ones who are heightened in reptilian, who know who they are, they eat people straight up. They don't put the chaser in there of pig, of the boar. Okay, the chaser is the boar with the human genomes. That's a chaser. Those are for hybrids, because hybrids are mixed with human as well. But the straight up reptilians require human flesh. And part of them eating human flesh is because that is their meal plan. That's what they consume. That from their world, they eat humans. And children are the number one appetizer on their plates. They eat children. All these missing children, a lot of them are being eaten by draconians and on higher field, more hostile reptilians. For those who eat a lot of pork, that has to do with them having to, in order for them to not shapeshift, in order for them to hold their form, they have to eat, you are what you eat. So you have to eat things that disallow you from shapeshifting. Okay, and the promoting of pork in the Midwest. The Midwest is probably has a heightened amount of draconians in the Midwest. Okay, they have a lot of that Germanic, Dutch bloodline, Eastern European, and because of that, they're mixed with a lot of draconians. In the Midwest, you see it's a big pork. It's all through the Bible Belt. It's all pork. Okay, a lot of pork. That's why they took out of the Bible to not eat pork, which is in every other religious text. The Quran talks about pork being unsavory, and that's because it's mixed with humans. They kind of knew that in a subliminal way. The Jewish people talk about not eating pork because it's unsavory. Why the Christians pull that out of the book? If you go to certain Christian churches, they serve ham every Sunday. Ham is like their number one thing. Okay, ham is part of their repertoire. It's so they can consume flesh of humans, so they can hold their form. Oh, lamb! I didn't get the lamb yesterday. I'll prepare the lamb next week. Yeah. I didn't get the lamb. The lamb, I went to the farm. Big up to everyone on IG. I took them to the farm store that I go to, and I was showing them, for you flesh consumers who like to eat random flesh at grocery stores, that is not really meat. And it's been dead for months. Okay, I talked about that yesterday and before. If you are a meat eater, this is my recommendation for you. I'm raising flexitarian children, so I give them conscious meat and conscious fish, and very little of it. I do it very sparingly, but they're flexitarians. So what I do is I go to places where the animals are treated as humanely as anything that could be slayed, because I don't agree with killing animals. But I do take them to where the animals are on site, and they only kill one animal humanely, and that is killed within 2 weeks. So you're only consuming flesh from that animal that's been slayed within 2 weeks. Okay, so I showed everyone the lamb, the beef. They have a goat and everything, and it's that animal has been the meat that you get, and also they seal it. They seal it with a sealer, so you get that fresh. And that's the only thing I would give to my daughters. I love my children, and I want them to have the best. And if I'm going to give them things that are healthy as far as being flexitarians, I have to give them the best of what I desire. I, as their mother, has been a veggie woman for over 20, almost 30 years now. Okay, so I've eaten flesh. Obviously, I grew up on flesh, eating flesh, like meat. But as I got older, any consumption of food that's been in my house, including my previous husband, I've always made it a point to go to the farm, and I make sure that I only buy things that have been freshly slayed. And that way that I know what they're getting, and also they're getting some life force. Because to eat corpses that have been dead for a month, you're getting absolutely no nutrition from that animal, okay? Most animals kill and eat their meat right away. Even in our previous days, if a man killed a deer, they would feast that night. You guys are eating things from grocery stores that have been dead 3-4 months, sometimes 6 months. That's why they spray it with red spray. Meat doesn't look red like that. Anytime blood dries and gets dark automatically, anything sprayed red isn't meat. It's something else. It's been sprayed with chemicals. I'm just letting you know, okay? So I big up to anyone who joined me in the farm. Yes, it was beautiful. I didn't get the lamb yesterday. I'll do that next week. A goat is something that I give my children. Goat. Every once in a while, lamb, and that's about it. We don't do many of the other things for them, okay? and a host of fresh vegetables, which I make for them. You know, they have a mother who's very vegetarian in behavior. So what happens is that I give them a wonderful balance of the two. Okay, but I make sure that they grow up with enough resources in their bloodstream and in their gene pool, and also they're carrying my grandchildren. And I take in consideration when I give birth to daughters, they give birth to I'm carrying both my granddaughters, my grandchildren, and my daughters in my womb. And I make it a point that I want them to have only the best in for their future. Okay. And also, I showed you guys raw milk yesterday. For those who are still dairy consumers, you're not drinking dairy from, if you think you're getting a milk from the store, you're not getting milk. You're getting powdered something, chemicals. If you consume milk or dairy still, you should try to stay away from cow milk and do more goat milk. And raw goat milk is the best for you if you're going to consume any dairy, okay? My children like raw, they like flax, Good Karma flax milk, which I love for them. But, you know, also raw goat milk is good for your hair and stuff like that. Okay, so I know nobody likes when I say flesh, but that's what you're consuming in flesh. And if you don't like flesh, then you shouldn't be consuming it. If you can't hunt for your own food, you shouldn't be eating meat, okay? What kind of milk you drink? Oh, I like Good Karma flax milk is my favorite. It's so good, and my little ones love it. So anyone who likes the flax milk is so good, right? No, Nora, it's so good. Oh, it's yummy. The little ones like it with a little bit of Keiko, if you want to make like a hot chocolate or something like that. Yeah, it's really good. So, but I made that video for meat eaters because I think a lot of times we ostracize meat eaters for doing that. If you're going to consume meat, you should eat the best of what there is, and you should know the difference between healthy meat, and if you put it in your body, rather than putting carcinogen in your body, you know, make sure. Be careful with the almond milk, love. Almonds, after a while, cause gastric issues, and it will cause an anaphylactic kind of reaction after drinking it too long. Okay, be careful with the almonds. I always, because remember, I grow them on my island. We grow cashews and almonds on my island. And I tell you, if you drink it too long, you'll have gastric issues in about 5 to 6 years. That's facts, okay? So that's based on research coming from the homeopathic field. You can have it every once in a while. Stay away from nut milks. Do nut milks, maybe if you're going to do it once a week. Don't do it often, and kind of hemp milk is better. Hemp milk is way better, okay? Or the seeded milk, so a little better. Okay, don't do any nuts long term because it'll cause gastric issues. Kind of, you know, always be flexible to come on and off of it. What type of reptilians eat flesh? Aren't into flesh? The subterraneans, and I tell you, I only think 50% of that. The subterranean reptilians that are only breeding with brown people, they eat fruit. They're more fruitarians. They're not meat eaters. They eat like roots, veggies, and mostly fruitarians. So that's why you're getting a lot of certain kind of brown groups on the earth that have this disposition to want to be fruitarians. You know, when you see the rosters and so on, they're into the herbs or they're into the fruitarianism. That's because genetically they're mixed with a lot of the interterrestrials, the subterranean reptilians, who are known to be fruit eaters. They like fruit, okay? And they do well with sucrose in that way. Okay, but all the draconians and some of the more aggressive reptilians, they all eat flesh. All of them, they all eat flesh. Yeah, it's what I don't want to judge it because that's what they eat. It's like, how would cows feel about you or goats feel about you knowing that you eat their children or knowing that you eat them? They would think you're disgusting. So that's what I'm saying. We're going to think that because based on the fact that, you know, we will justify eating baby cows or goats or cows and kill mothers and animals, but you don't understand that there are higher frequency beings that are coexisting here where they are feeding on people, and that's their general feeding friend. That's how they sustain themselves. So as above, so below. If you are into, you know, eating or farming animals, you must know that there are beings here who are farming humans. that eat them. And I don't want to go into that because we've discussed this before, but I've talked about there's a mothership that comes here, a couple of ships that come here every 5 years. There was a news, I don't remember the show, and many of you saw it years ago. I think I shared the video with you. There was a news reporter, and she was great in the UFO community. I loved, they had some really good news on UFO sightings, abductees. I loved it. It was a great show. I forgot it. It was on this a while ago. They talked about a ship, a couple motherships that come here every 5 years to go food shopping for humans. And part of the vegan agenda, which I bring in a whole lot of host of other agendas with the vegan agenda, is them cleaning you up so it makes you more of a staple for those coming in. They don't want dirty meat. They want to clean you humans up so that you can engage and enjoy the flesh without, they want GMO free, grass fed, herb fed, free grazing humans for consumption. So what they do is they promote to you to eat healthy and clean your system up. I don't know if many of you saw American Horrors, when they had the vampires and these girls were like drug addicts, and all she did was, so she could drink their blood, she put them on a filter to clean out their blood so she can consume their blood. That's exactly what they do to humans. So a lot of times what it is that, like I said, as above, so below, a lot of these missing children, and they preference children to eat. We don't drink any milk. Okay. Your milk is pus. You know what milk is, right? The only milk, if you want to eat another species milk, that's on you. Because remember, I produce milk for my children. The only milk that you should be drinking is human milk. And most people get disgusted about the thought of drinking human milk, but they can drink goat's milk or other milk. You're supposed to drink human milk. And you're not supposed to drink milk past your child stage. We're consuming milk and dairy post our... The only time you should drink milk is when you're nursing. And once you're done nursing, that is when milk is supposed to be done for humans. Having the perpetual need to consume milk and dairy is an agenda. It's meant to keep you in a very childish state of being, keep you infantile in mind and body. That's what it's meant to do. It isn't meant for consumption. I nursed my girls until 5. One was until 4, and almost 4, and the other one was till 5. So I nursed them. They were great with milk, and they didn't require it afterwards. I added hemp milk to their cereals and stuff when they got a little older to introduce food. But I breastfed them forever, and that was the milk that was made for them. I wasn't giving my children any other species. Why would I give another species milk to my child? Cows are made to breed cows. You see how big a cow is? That's how much fat is in that milk. Okay? I'm just saying, we keep it real. When people say, well, what kind of milk? We're not supposed to really consume milk. That's a infantile type of, that's some sort of like weird kind of way of trying to keep childlike. Other species drink other milk. That's because they're being introduced to another milk, and it comes from tragedy. If another species drinks other milk, it's because something happened to their mother. So it's based on trauma. Okay? No other species drinks milk unless the mother was traumatized and dead. That's the only time another species will drink another species milk. If a cat's mother dies, she may drink a goat's milk because the goat has milk available, and they're being introduced to that goat, or the goat is allowing for that nursing. But that is not coming from a natural place. Yeah, it's pus. That's all it is. Yeah, it's a survival mechanism. Exactly. It's not coming from a natural place. It's just coming from a place of necessity and survival. That's it. We do it because we're being propelled by, there's a reptilian agenda, family. And this is why I keep making videos on reptilians, and I want you to see them. There are reptilians here who have zero, they aren't human. They have zero, all the human qualities that we know some of us have more than others. Those aren't what these beings are. They're promoting, first of all, they homogenize the weather to make their lives more cohesive, because reptilians in themselves do not like, the draconians do not like warm weather. Beings who are mixed with some of the more aggressive reptilians like it cold. They like it cold. So what they do is they geoengineer the weather. That's why the planet's supposed to go back into its cycle where it's really hot. Okay, that's why we have 3 suns. It's supposed to be really, really hot and tropical. When the dinosaurs existed here, and they weren't alone, dinosaurs were the pets of some of the bigger beings that were living here. It was all tropical. The entire planet was tropical. Okay? Okay? That's all it is. The entire planet was tropical at a point where reptilians were living. But the more aggressive reptilians that came here later, not the subterranean. The subterraneans like it tropical and hot. That's why they eat fruit. Okay, they eat herbs. But the draconians and those type of reptilians, they like it cold. That's their natural environmental requirement is cooler weather. They like it cool. They don't like it hot. And they don't like magnetic energy. They are allergic to magnetism. Magnetic energy, which is coming from the sun and some of the poles, it bothers them. It messes with their homeostasis. So they don't like heightened amount of magnetism, and they don't like too much sunlight. They like it shaded and cool and wet and moist. Okay? That's why they go underground. But the subterraneans like it tropical, and they're okay with it. Casein. Yeah, casein is in milk. Yeah, a lot of things. That's why I say if you're going to, okay, I know we're switching off topics of reptilians, but for those about the milk, we'll talk about the farm because I went to the farm. Casein is in a lot of milk, which is a carcinogen. That's why you buy milk off the counter. That's why I say to you, if you're going to consume milk or dairy, you go to a farm and you get raw milk. And I say the best raw milk for you is goat. If you're going to consume meat, go to a farm or a butcher and have meat that's halal or kosher, meaning the animal's blood was drained so you don't get the frequency of fear, because that's a lot of times what's in there, and you get a better quality meat that's devoid of any what is it, steroids and all that craziness. Okay, so let's get into the genetic. We talked about the genetic. What time is it? Can anyone tell me what time is it, family? Can anyone tell me the time? I don't have the time. Anyone on the East Coast? Is it 12? I have a Kiki session at 12. What time? Does anyone know about the time? Oh, it's 11:12. Thank you. Is that East Coast? Is that East Coast, everyone? Thank you. Thank you. We're giving like Australian time. Oh, 11:11. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Chicago time. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it. All right. Okay. I want to get into the reptilian overlays. Okay. A lot of people mistaken for people being reptilians that have an overlay over them. And there are requirements for anything we talked about the gray overlays, but now we're going to talk about the reptilian overlays, okay? Because that's something that you should be heightened in awareness with. How does one get attachments? Number one, okay? Attachments only come if you match the frequency, and nothing can attach to you that isn't in alignment with your frequency. So if you have behavioral patterns like you drink every night, you're sauced up, alcohol is wine and spirits. Alcohol daily, I don't care if it's one glass of whatever or one beer, it allows for susceptibility, especially if you're consuming it as a requirement daily. Okay, meaning it's breaking down your auric field, allowing for attachments. Wine and spirits brings spirits, okay, entities, okay, drug abuse. Now people say, oh, well, I'm not a drug addict, I don't do drugs, but I'm on 50 million sleeping pills. Any form of drug that impairs your mind and your ability to discern certain things is a drug, and it will allow for permissibility for beings to attach to you. So it doesn't matter if you are taking Percocets and you're prescribed for it. Percocets is a painkiller, am I right? Is Percocets a painkiller? I think it is, right? Is it a painkiller? Percocets is a painkiller, right? I think so. If you're drinking Percocets or taking Percocets, right? It's a painkiller. Okay. it is lowering your ability to protect yourself, meaning that if your biology is compromised, it will compromise your auric field, okay? As within, so without. So when you compromise your inner world, you compromise your outer world. You always want to keep your shield strong. And that's why I say to you, I always give you my profile before you talk to me, because before you talk to me, you could be like, listen, she's irrational all day, but I'm drug free, I'm alcohol free, I don't engage in unhealthy sex, and I keep my world pretty aesthetically clean. It lets you know that most likely Fleur Brune has little or no attachments to her auric field, based on I'm keeping my shield on my aura tight and clean and strong and thick. Okay? So doing prescription drugs is just to the same degree as doing anything else. Now, smoking weed. Most people hate when I talk about this, but I will tell you all day. Smoking marijuana breaks down your auric field, especially if you're a regular user. Nobody wants to hear that because they feel it's got so many benefits. I grew up in a world, I'm a Caribbean woman, I know the benefits of marijuana. But I also know, from coming from a background of growing places where grows it, know that it's used in teas and tinctures. Marijuana is not burnt, which the molecular structure changes. Just like if you burn cocaine, it comes into crack, which is more addictive. So anytime you burn an herb, you change its molecular structure. It is no longer the herb that was in its rightful place previous to that. And I always suggest people who love to engage with that personal weed is that you do it properly in a way that's healthy. You drink it in a tea, which my ancestors did, or you put it in a tincture. That is the way that you engage with a herb properly. And if you know and you have rationality, you realize that herbs are meant for healing. It is not for daily consumption. Because if you utilize an herb for daily consumption, you are muting its natural effects. It won't work for you like it's supposed to work for you when you take it as necessary. Okay, if you abuse anything and you overutilize something, it won't have the proper effects that it's supposed to. So weed is not something, that herb is not to be used daily. It is only to be taken as necessary, as a herb, as a healing modality, not as a drug. If you're taking it daily and utilizing like an alcoholic would liquor to go to sleep daily, or you are disallowing for yourself to deal with what your body naturally. So if you're dealing with anxiety, you have to learn to treat the anxiety. If you perpetually are still if you are perpetually still consuming things that are masking the ailments, the very ailments you're supposed to treat, then you have a problem. Okay, so it's not a judgment. It's a rational, integrity-filled observation, based on the fact that I come from an island, and many islander, big up to my islanders, know this. When our babies get sick, I told you about my boyfriend's mother, great aunt at the time, was like 90 something, had overproof rum with marijuana seeds in it, and it was like over 50 years old, and she put it on my feet and it dropped my fever within 24 hours. That is what we use the herb for. We don't misappropriate the herb. And why do you think your government is making it legal now? So they can make you all susceptible to overlay grays and reptilians attaching to your auric field. Okay? I remember sitting in front of a man that I really, really was fond of, who we had a crush. I didn't talk about him before. I went to see him. Y'all didn't know. I went to sit with him. He's handsome. He's smart. He's compassionate. Sexy. I liked him a lot. Same likewise. Sat in front of him, chilling, had a beautiful day, went on beautiful dates, went in nature. And what ruined the entire night is when he sparked up a joint and his whole disposition changed. And I didn't like him anymore. Just from that. I didn't like the way his aura felt. I felt like something was wrong with him. The chemistry that we had started to dissipate really quickly. I noticed that immediately. Is it because I'm a little clean? Yes, of course. But I noticed, because I'm heightened in awareness, that his whole auric field changed. And it wasn't permissible, and it wasn't clean, and it wasn't healthy, and I wasn't attracted to him. And did I ever mess with him again? Absolutely not. That's just me. Okay, so I'm just saying, for those, you can smoke. I got tons of chiefers on here, and after I have this conversation, they're probably sparking up right now. But I'm saying, I just asked our chiefers to take the medication as necessary, and also do it in different forms that are more natural. Why not drink it in a tea? Why not make it a lotion? Why not do it in its proper form? And I bet you feel better. Okay. So we're talking about the reptilian overlays. Reptilians that are connected to your auric field based on your poor decision. Now, also, how you get another reptilian overlay. Another reptilian overlay is having sex. One of the ways that you can pick up a great overlay, a reptilian overlay, is having anal sex. Most people don't like this conversation. Having anal sex allows for susceptibility. It breaks. First of all, it's meant to spark your kundalini. Because it's pushing something into your rectum that causes an automatic activity in your kundalini, spiking it up to the reptilian head. Okay, that's why a lot of occultists also rape little boys or engage with little girls with that type of sex, is utilizing the anal cavity as a way to bypass certain spiritual safety caps. Okay, having anal sex allows for inception, demonic attachment, and also for reptilian attachment. Okay, so I think that's something that nobody wants to talk about, because there's another agenda going on now, and that's another problem, because that is something that is being done. And not only men have anal sex, women are having anal sex too. Let me state that, so we can get over everyone getting in their feelings. Oh, she's talking about gay. No, I'm talking about anal sex. Now, I know gay men who don't have anal sex. I actually do. Okay? According to them, they don't have anal sex, so it's not true. It has to do with anal sex is something that is not natural. Okay, it actually penetrates a place where you have excrement coming out, and that itself is foul. Okay, and that defilement allows for attachments, demonic, and also entities attaching to your auric field. Okay, so be mindful of that as well. That allows for attachment of not only for reptilians, but other low field beings to attach to your auric field, because it's a behavioral pattern that is foul to the human form, and it also is in alignment with beings who aren't fond of humans. Okay, who have no respect for it. Let's go with, okay, so not only anal sex causes attachment of reptilians or dark entities attaching to the auric field, depraved sexuality causes that. Watching pornography is another part of attaching certain entities. And if you don't know, the pornography industry is owned by Satanists and Luciferians. That's why, you have to be mindful of people who are getting into the adult entertainment field. Anytime you see pornography, it is feeding a beast. It is feeding entities that feed off of that that sexual your sexual organ energy that you're feeding into having an orgasm by watching them. So they're feeding off of you. Okay, watching pornography is a Oh, I'm sorry, Lydia. He's listening. Don't put me on speaker. I hope no little ones are in here. I hope no little ones in here, please. I don't want the little ones listening to this. I'm sorry. I should have given the foreword about this. Please take the little ones out the room. If any little ones are in here, I don't mean to. Okay. Yeah, watching pornography. So you'll notice that people who have a propensity watching pornography, you also know their behavioral pattern changes. They become more low field. They become more addictive to seeing and not wanting to engage in a natural way with their partners without having some sort of stimulus, outside stimulus. That's the pornography. It is a Satanist filled, and it is run by Satanists and Luciferians. That is a fact. You can look it up, because I've seen the names, and it all leads to one or two groups. okay? And you're feeding beings. So watching pornography also allows for STDs, sexually transmitted demons. You think that your black glass phone, which is a black mirror, which allows for, it's a portal, allows for beings to feed off of your energy. So watching porn is also a way to make you susceptible to attachments. Okay. And, you know, I always tell the sea stars, you out here, you know, having sex through phones, you know, posting your pictures, sexual pictures, you are probably going to be attached to demonic forms, because it's not just, you know, a lot of the sea stars who say, oh, well, I'm just putting it out there, but they don't realize it's a two-way mirror. Okay, the entities who are watching you masturbate, who are watching you shake your body, twerk it, whatever you do, there are beings out there that are negative, that are watching you. Those are the negative ones. So what do you think they're transferring to you? It's a two-way portal. So when you're doing it, thinking, or you're sending it to your man, thinking it's sexy, you shaking your butt, you're allowing for other beings to feed off of that, and also they'll transfer some of their energy onto you. Okay? I'm just saying, you know, what I discuss is just being natural. You know, I think a lot of times, because we live in such an unnatural world and an AI system, most people forget what it is to be human, because they're living non-human ways. They're proactive in lifestyles that are non-human. So I'm just saying, you know, I'm keeping it real 1000. I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear. I'm going to tell you what I know is right and what's righteous. What I know, and it may change based on learning more. That could change because I'm not perfect, but I will tell you that engaging some of these activities is making you more susceptible to inception. Whereas you felt like you were a sweet girl before, but then you dropped some pictures to your homeboy, and he's showing it to all his homies, and all those homies are negative, or they have sexually transmitted demons, and they looking at your yoni space, and that nicely is transferring through the phone, attaching to you. And then you're wondering why you're acting so crazy, or you're unable to, or you're oversexed now, or you're horny all the time. It's because now you have an attachment to you. Because now this overlay reptilian has a need to feed, and now you're the portal it's using to be able to engage in a world where normally you wouldn't have that kind of outlet. You're allowing it to happen. So we get into the overlay grays. So start being mindful of your activities. I'm not telling you not to have fun. I have fun all day. You can have sex with your partner. You don't need an outside stimulus. If you start needing outside stimulus, maybe you need to switch your partner. Maybe your partner is not for you. It's not a disrespect. Sometimes you guys stay in relationships past its expiration date. If you require something outside of the relationship to stimulate yourself sexually, it means that your partnership is overdue. It's done. It's time to move on nicely, and so on. Sex toys are the same. You having metal and rubber inside of your yoni space. Not only is it causing vibrations of cancer, causing all kinds of issues on you, you're putting something inside of you that's latex, that has rubber and electric in it, and you're putting it inside near near your cervix, inside of your yoni space, near your womb, and you expect that there's going to be good things happening from your yoni after that, where it's sending radiation into your tubes. Okay? I'm just saying. I know it's unpopular what I'm stating, and I know a lot of people do, and you're going to still do what you want to do. But I'm just saying, what do you think that's healthy? If we're going to use proper discernment, if putting a toy inside of your electronic toy that has electricity, and we already have problems with the electricity with our cell phones, already, but you're going to put it inside of you as well? And then take your orgone energy and then add that element with something that's unnatural inside of you? Come on now. Why can't you just have sex in a healthy way with the person? Well, bananas. Somebody said bananas. I prefer you masturbate with a fruit or a vegetable rather than that. I'm just saying, but be careful of the pesticides on top of the banana, because you might be doing more damage than the actual electric toy. Listen, as much as I tell you things to watch out for, there's still, cucumbers are a little better. There's certain things, you guys are so naughty. There's certain things that you have to realize. We have so many beautiful things in being human. Our bodies have so many beautiful points. Having healthy sex with a partnership that makes you thrive and that encourages you to be better, that in itself is orgasmic. There isn't anything outside of you require. So be mindful of that. And as far as engaging with reptilians, or you being a reptilian, if you own who you are, then your life will be easier. because then you engage with partnerships in a way that you're unapologetic about, but you're not going around hurting people either, because you can just basically say, listen, this is the way I am. I hit and miss. I like to impregnate women like Nature Knot. Nature Knot is telling everybody he wants to impregnate. That's a reptilian. Actually, what Nature Knot was doing, and I hate to give him props, he's actually telling you, I'm a reptilian and I'm okay with it. I want to just impregnate women and I don't really want to have to take care of them. He's telling you that. He's unapologetic and he's doing it. So I would prefer someone out there doing that so I know who they are so I can keep it moving. Or if you like men like that, then you can engage with them. So those sexual practices, okay, we'll go in the overlay. Those sexual practices or those behavioral patterns of drinking every night, having sex, in a way that is demonic or connected to something demonic, taking drugs, whether it's prescription drugs, anything that's mind altering, will affect and make you more susceptible for reptilian overlays. And a lot of times reptilian overlays, how you know you have attachments, is that your natural discernment changes. Like what you normally wouldn't be so allured by starts to become more alluring. You tend to want to eat more gluttonous, like more fleshes, like more raw meats. That's a sign you may have a type of parasitic reptilian on top of you. They like to eat rare meats. They like to eat more of it. They become more voracious in flesh. You become more sexually piloted. You tend to crave sex. You never used to have certain kind of sexual desires. Now you have weird sexual desires. You're open for different types of low field sexuality, such as threesomes, orgies. People who engage in orgies all the time tend to have a lot of overlays on them, a lot of reptilian overlays. A lot of these orgies are filled with people who have a lot of demonic attachments to them. Okay, so a lot of that has to do with the overlays of attachments of these reptilians that are basically propelling these people to do demonic type of things that their natural propensity is to do that, the reptilians, but it isn't necessarily yours. So watch your behavioral patterns. If you start to change and you start to have requirements that you didn't have previously that are not normal or healthy, I would question if you have something. And part of purging those off of you is changing some of your behaviors. Don't feed the reptilian, okay? Don't feed them. How do you not feed them? Stop doing sexual deprived behavior. Go celibate for a little bit. Starve the beast. Because if you don't feed them, don't feed the alligators, okay? Stop having sex for a little bit. That'll get rid of a lot of those parasites. Do a fast. Do a clean fast. Fast for a couple days. It doesn't have to be a month like me. Fast for a couple days. That will also help to relieve that. Stop smoking weed for a month or two. That will alter your connection to a lot of these reptilians. Change your medication. Ask the doctor if there's anything else that can help you. Start taking ashwagandha if you suffer from anxiety, and Percocets, and what's the other drug? There's something else. What's the other one? Percocets, is it Oxycontin? I don't know what the other one is. Oxycontin? I think it is. Oxycontin, take a little break and tell the doctor, say, listen, I'd like to take a break. Are there other things they can do? Oh, thank you, Kemi. I appreciate it. Thank you. Maybe there's, like I love ashwagandha. Ashwagandha tends to calm you down. It's beautiful. It uses your homeostasis, natural homeostasis of your body to be able to keep you level. Okay, there are other things that you can use as herbs and tinctures. Oh, Xanax. Xanax is the other one. There's other things that can keep you a little more calm and bring down anxiety. Okay, start working out. Working out also, and exercising tends to get rid of that need. You get more tired at night. So if you have a problem sleeping at night, go work out. Work out for like an hour. Work out for an hour, and that will also allow for you to go to sleep at night. Start building up your your activities. Okay, that would help. Okay, so You know, there's a lot of other things you can do, alternatives. Change your lifestyle, become more healthy. And if you're still a flesh consumer, like I told you, I gave you some great advice, and I think it's healthy. And I think most people from the vegetarian community would never give advice to flesh eaters. But I come from that life. I ate flesh when I was younger. And also, I'm raising flexitarians. And I used to buy my husband, when I was married, I used to buy him, mugwort. That's actually nice to rest. Thank you. Thank you, Truth Seeker. I used to buy him conscious meat from the farms. One cow, slayed once a month, humanely. He would eat from that one cow. Everybody bought from them one cow. It was slayed that week, and my husband enjoyed it. And he said it was the best flesh that he ever had. You know, I call it flesh because that's how I see it, you know. So he enjoyed it, and he was healthier. Okay, so if you're gonna do that, I just cry because I'm not gonna smoke any more weed. Don't start, ladyfingers. I'm not saying don't start cold turkey. I don't want you to get sick either. But I'm just saying, have a different relationship with the things you use. And if you like marijuana, then use it properly. You know, like I said, put it in teas. It's not gonna get you high. See, the problem is the high is what people like. It's not the herb. It's the high. Okay, when you change the relationship with the herb and you respect it as a herb, then you have a better relationship with it. Drink it as a tea. Make it in a tincture. I put it in lotions, which is really good. It makes you really feel relaxed. You know, change the way you see things, and the way you utilize things. Use it in a healthy way. Like I said, burning marijuana it alters the molecular structure of it, and it isn't any longer a herb. You've burnt the herb. And like I said, cocaine, when you burn it, you make crack. Okay, so understand that. That's all. And enjoy. Make a soap with it. Yeah, make a soap. You know, it's wonderful. It's a wonderful thing to utilize it in a different way that's healthier, that allows for the herb to do what it does. But remember, herbs are meant for healing. If you are not sick, you don't need to use a herb every day. You will make yourself more susceptible for more pain, because just like when people say you take painkillers all the time, now you can't even take a pin in you because because you use it so much. Now it doesn't work to the same degree. Herbs are meant for using when necessary, not daily. Okay? When the colonizers came here and they utilized the herbs of the native and the indigenous, the Spaniard came to our islands and they saw our herbs and they started to smoke it. And because they were smoking cigars and stuff like that. We weren't. That we had little pipes and so on, but that was only when we went to the ceremonies, okay? But when the colonists came here, they got the herb and they went bananas. They started to smoke it every day. We didn't do that. We knew to use it for ceremony. We knew to blow it in when a mother was giving birth, sometimes to make her be able, if she was going through too much stress, the medicine woman would blow it in her face. And they wouldn't do it through a pipe. They'd do it through teas. They would steam it. And they would blow it in her face, the steam. That's what we did. I remember because I have the auditory from my ancestors. They tell me. They boiled the herb in a beautiful clay pot in a tent, and they would blow it in the face of the pregnant woman going through that. That's what they did. And then afterwards, she would drink it after she gave birth, and it would calm her down. Actually, it'd help her release her milk quicker. Okay? Remember what it was used for. Okay? Remember what it's used for. Don't forget. Don't forget your lineage. Don't forget your ancestors, what they taught you. It's all in here. You don't need it from outsources. You don't need it from anyone else telling you a story. Remember it from here. You have every ancestor in every cell in your body. You have every ancestor. Every ancestor's inside of every cell in your body. They have all of your knowledge is inside of you. If you're having a hard time knowing who you are, stop doing all the drugs. Stop doing all these things. Clear your system. Do it fast. You will remember who you are. I can guarantee you. This 22-day fast that I'm on has absolutely opened up codons that I didn't even know I realized. Every memory in my cell is being released. I know who I am. I recognize, I respect it, and I'm grateful. And I did it from fasting. I knew it before, but I know so much more about myself from fasting. Okay? So I'm not telling you to go starve yourself either. You know, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying sometimes getting rid of things out of you that are muting your senses allows for you to actually hear or understand or overstand who and what you are. That's all. Chill out. Okay? If you want to do, like I said, for my herbalist, because I know I could telepathically feel all my chiefers like, oh, dag, flirting with this weed again. Oh, she's trying to mess up my chiefing. I'm not trying. I want you to be better. I want you to be stronger. I want you to be healthier, and I want you to be in self-awareness. That's all. I want you better. There's no reason for me to share this. I can keep this to myself and teach it to my own children. Why am I sharing it with you? There's not a price I'm charging you to give you this information. I'm not saying you have to pay anything for this. I'm giving it to you because you deserve it. You rock with me, I rock with you. What I know, you know. I'm going to share what I know and give it to you. Pass the torch. I appreciate it when people do it to me. When they tell me things that I didn't know earlier, like in Cypher, on IG, here you guys share with me, you email me. When you share with me, I'm enlightened. I'm grateful. I love it. I love when you share things that I didn't know, especially things I didn't know or things that solidify what I knew, and you kind of just keeping it for myself, keeping it it's synchronistic. I appreciate it. So I'm not gonna be mad at learning something new. I want more new things to learn about myself, but start clearing yourself out and that's why I did the fast too. Let me be the catalyst for you. Okay. And I'm a woman of a certain age. Many of you, I could be your mother or your auntie. Like I said, I'm the crazy auntie on YouTube that somebody gave her a camera phone and she went on talking about ETs. I'm that person. I could be your sister. I could be your cousin. I could be your lover. See me as something to you, or your friend. And there isn't anything I want to share with you to hurt you. I share with you because, in a sense, I love you. Okay. So, do what you do. All right, so I gotta go. I got a kiki session. I got a kiki session, y'all. I'm gonna go chill out. Enjoy your day. It's a 22-day fast. I told you I'm at fasting, and I'm grateful. I'm gonna be so grateful. There's only so much water. I am tired of water now. Now I'm starting to feel it. Like, people are like, did you feel it before? No, because I was at the, when you're in it to win it, you're kind of like waiting to the last week. The last week of your fast is like, okay, I want to get my fast. I want to get through my fast. I got 8 more days, almost 7.5 more days, actually. 7 more. Oh, you're going to see me eating my fruit in front of your face again. Remember when you like to watch me eat? I'm going to be eating all my fruit. I'm gonna eat my fruit on Aquarius rising. I'm gonna enjoy it. Oh, I want get-ups so badly. Oh, I want get-ups like I want sex. I'm craving get-ups. Some of you call them canipas. My Spanish brethren call them canipas. Some of you like canipas. What do you guys call it? Canips. Oh, it's mango seed. Oh. I'm gonna slice mangoes. I'm gonna put mangoes all over me. I'm gonna put mangoes all over me. I'm gonna get up some mangoes. Yeah, I'm gonna look like a mango. I'm putting mangoes in my hair. I'm excited to eat, family. Yeah, I am. I'm craving just fruit. I'm not craving like the sweets before in the beginning of the fast. I was craving like, and I wasn't craving. I was having dreams about cakes and stuff, and I don't eat cakes like that. Oh, thank you. Thank you, old soul. I appreciate 444. The kind information is hard to get. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. Thank you, old soul. 444. Yeah, like I'm ready to eat like now, and I'm ready to come out my shell. So Flurbur's gonna be dropping it like it's hot. I'm going dancing. I'm gonna go Latin dancing because I like to dance. So I'm gonna kick on my shoes. I'm gonna go dancing, and I'm gonna eat some mangoes. I'm excited. I'm excited. I really oh, papaya, banana, and ginger. Oh my gosh. Oh, it's exciting. Oh. I appreciate you all joining with me though. I appreciate it. Yeah, this has been a journey. I knew I could do the 30 days, and I'm not there yet, but I knew I could do it. But it was the movies were tough. I think I share with you all, the movies was the hardest part for me. Going to the movie theater and 3-hour movie, I think that was probably the toughest for me, which is interesting because it really made me solidify that I'm strong. Sometimes I forget that I'm strong and I have the self-control, but sometimes I have to be humbled. Like I pulled in that night because it was easy for me to just take popcorn. I could easily have just cheated and not thought anything of it. And I was like, why would I cheat? I would be cheating myself. This is my choice. Why would I cheat myself? This is my choice. I'm not doing it for anybody. This is for me. So I thought about it and I said to myself, you know what? You got this. You're strong. You gave birth to 2 beautiful little girls. You just had lost 2 babies and you made it through the heartache of that. I can do this. I can do it. I can do it for me, and I can do it for the necessity to clear and cleanse, and it did it. So I appreciate that. I really is a journey. I'm strong, but I didn't know. I felt it though that day. I know it's something so simple, going to movies and not eating, but I felt it, and I was grateful, and I realized I can do anything now. I can do anything, and I think many of you go through the same thing. Is we test ourselves, and sometimes we fail, and it's not failing. Sometimes it just takes more, and this did it for me this fast. So look forward to, I know y'all look forward to next Tuesday when Fleur is in her real form. Woo! I'm gonna do a spa. I'm gonna go eat my avocado soup. I am excited. Oh, all the taste in my mouth. And then I'm gonna go dancing that weekend. I'm going dancing and I'm gonna enjoy myself. I'm gonna be dropping it like it's hot to some Latino music. I'm gonna be excited. Anyway, I'm excited. See, this is my goals when I get to my fast. Anyway, and I can actually have sex again. I don't have anybody to have sex with, but I will find someone. Anyway, have a fabulous day. I love you for joining me. Enjoy this beautiful Monday. I can't really twerk, but I could drop it like it's hot. You know, I dance. Enjoy. I'm gonna go. Oh yeah, lots of snacks. You know, and I, you know, again, thank you for rocking with me and listening to this video. I hope this was helpful, because you all ask how it is to be a reptilian. I hope I gave you some good tips and realizing who and what you may be, or who you know, and to take less judgment out of it and just realize, oh, that's just a reptilian. Okay, that's what they do. I'm not gonna chill. I'm not gonna chill with maybe some reptilians, or maybe I want to chill with them because that's the type of person I am. You know what I mean? This gives you a better perspective instead of villainizing beings that are what they are. You know what I mean? Don't judge them. Just you recognize them. That's it. And recognize yourself. All right. I love you, family. Have a fabulous day, and I'll talk to you later.